equipped with the, oh, I'll stop.
I'm going live. Here we go. Yep. Hi, everyone. Oh my goodness. I am so happy to be here on Facebook Live with my dear soul family, client, publicist, all you are all the things. You are my dear friend. You are one of my mentors. I am one of yours. We have changed each other's lives so
We really have.
profoundly and powerfully. So I am here with Lydia Bagarozza, who is a gifted publicist, branding expert, really incredibly intuitive wizard, and just she's a real change maker. If you don't know Lydia, you're going to want to start to follow her in all the places. And for those of you who don't know me, who are newer to my work, my name is Andrea Donnelly. I am a quantum sound and energy healer, an abundance activator, and I do a lot, and basically a cheerleader for you to anchor into your highest potential in terms of wealth and abundance and love and miracles and all the things. So I'm an intuitive coach, and I do business.
Oh no, I think that she is frozen. So I'll pick this up. I think that I'm still live. So hi, I'm Lydia Bagarozza. I'm a publicist and also a co-founder of Visibility on Purpose, which is a media training school with my dear friend, Bridget. You know, I think that we're going to have to go live one more time. Oh, Andrea is back, I believe. She's back. Okay. Hi. I was introducing myself and then I was like, wait, maybe we should restart this. But I think we're okay.
I don't know what happened. That's so weird. I haven't had, you and I are like busting open the matrix in live time, because I haven't had that happen where I got like literally kicked off Zoom.
Yeah, in a long time.
In a while. So hopefully this will work. And you know, we're just, you and I are trying something out. So you were introducing yourself. I don't want to interrupt that.
Thank you. So I was saying that I am the co-founder of Visibility on Purpose, which is a media training school where we essentially teach you how to pitch yourself to the media. We teach you how to be a magnetic presence, how to interview properly, how to talk about your brand. The number one question that I get asked is like, how do I answer the question at the beginning of interviews? It's like, okay, like tell me about yourself. And we can get so caught up, especially if we have a lot of tools in our toolkit. I know, especially in the spiritual community, there's a million things that we do. Even just speaking about Andrea, she does, I don't know, like 15 different energy modalities. So how do we talk about that in a concise and compelling way? So these are the things that we work on in Visibility on Purpose, which is super, super fun. I cannot wait. We start March 30th. But anyway, what we wanted to talk about today is we wanted to just talk about where we were 2 years ago. Andrea and I, we have been on such a journey together where we actually met in a clubhouse room. So we met, you know, this is such a bummer. It keeps going. You keep freezing.
I can still hear you though.
You can. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I don't even know where I was.
We met in a clubhouse room.
Yes. So we met in a clubhouse room. So I don't know if you guys remember Clubhouse back in 2020, but I wasn't even full-time in my business yet. I was actually working at a boutique because I had quit my job in 2020 and was like, I want to be an entrepreneur, but didn't necessarily have the means to do so yet. So I was working there while I was building up my business. And one night at the peak of Clubhouse, I decided to join a live where Andrea was on a panel, and she was actually giving readings for whoever came up to the stage. I don't know if you remember Clubhouse. And Andrea was like, oh, like Lydia called on me. And she in the Clubhouse room goes, oh, Oh. And I was
This
like,
guy over here, the psychic with no game face. I'm like,
oh. It's all audio. And I was just so magnetized by her voice. Like, I didn't even believe what she was saying. She was like, you're meant to change the world. Blah, blah. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I also loved just the way that she carried herself, and her voice. And Clubhouse is all vocal. You can't see what people look like, except for like a tiny little icon, which you can't see anyway.
Yeah.
So I found her on Instagram and DM'd her, and I was just like, hey, I feel like we're supposed to like know each other. Hello. And back then, correct. And back then, Andrea was disabled, which she will talk about, with chronic nerve pain. And she had a back surgery, and a lot of stuff went on with her. And so the two of us were kind of just like, we know it's the time to start our business. We know that we want to make a difference. And so we're just going to messy action and do it. And what's so beautiful about all of this is we both are in our highest income month at this exact moment. And I think honestly, we may have met like 2 years ago to the date, something around here, which is really cool.
it's such a beautiful, and I want to just say, this is what I mean, this is what you mean, this is what people throw around the idea of quantum leaping, right? Okay. Quantum leaping is literally what Lydia and I have done, which is to go from a point which is perhaps part of your destiny, part of your highest potential, part of your soul growth. But what Lydia's done and what I've done could have taken us 10 years. It could have taken us 20 years. It could have taken us 30 years or a literal lifetime to achieve the sort of growth and action, right? I was disabled by nerve pain. I got so emotional last night. I was thinking about where, from whence I came, and thinking about how when you and I met, I had started my business in the fall of 2020 when I met right around this time in 2021. But I was on a lot of medication, and I did so many different things. I mean, my healing journey is like a whole thing. It involved Western allopathic things, a back surgery. I was in 4 car accidents. I had a lot of family trauma, drama, and pain that I had to transmute. And it was a complex journey because I've talked to my guides since I was a baby. They told me from the time I have memories that my life would be very complicated for up to a certain point, which is about the age I am now. And then I would basically invent something which would change the world. Now, when I was a hot mess, people would kind of like be like, you over there with your talk about how someday you're going to figure it out and make it. And I'd be like, no, but like, I always had that spiritual connection. I have a very high spiritual IQ, which is like amazing. And I also had to live through some human-ish so that I would be able to remember the enormity of who I am and be able to literally change my own life very quickly using this decade. I studied metaphysical things and healing for decades leading up to the point. And it was interesting because I always knew that I would use my healing gifts to change, things for people very quickly. And one of the things that I have done both for myself and for you, and I know is part of my mission, is to really help people of good hearts and minds use this energetic alignment technique that I have crafted to create wealth and to lean into just incredible abundance interpersonally, professionally, physically, right? Like for all my struggles, I was disabled a few years ago when you and I met. As I said, I was really in the midst of a massive personal transformation, and I knew that it was part of my journey. I knew it would be part of what would be the proof, quote unquote, right? For me to be able to be like, I know my modality works because literally look at me a few years ago. And now here I am this month, the first week in March, I hit a higher level of sales than I had experienced at an entire years of other jobs. More than that. Like I exceeded.
Isn't that insane to think about?
So surreal and so crazy to think about all of this.
Yep. I made less this month. I made less in a job in 1 year. That was a salary job, which is crazy. It's just amazing. Yeah. So we have come so far, and I think a lot of this has to come down to, or does come down to, really honing in on our own authenticity, individuality. And so with that, you really need to focus on a lot of healing. So that's where Andrea comes in. She's been so instrumental to figuring out who I am as a business owner, who I am as a brand, as a person. And so it all kind of meshes together, especially when you're an entrepreneur. It ends up being the biggest self-discovery journey you will ever witness and be a part of. So when you do decide, or if you do decide to be an entrepreneur, if you are an entrepreneur, it is a non-negotiable to work with somebody who has not only an understanding of being trauma informed, but also an understanding of energetics. There's so many different ways that we can hold trauma in our body, or the way that we react to things. So anyway, Andrea has this amazing program, Gold Standard, which I'm going to be a part of and I'm very excited about. And she talks about being your own gold standard, which is like the hottest thing I've ever heard. She also has another thing that I love and I talk about all the time, which is champagne problems, basically like first world problems, but a cooler version. And so it's just really like honing in on, she was talking about energetic mastery. I'll let her talk about it too, but I'm just so excited about it because everybody that's in the program, or like a third of the people in the program, half, I'm not really sure, we're all in our highest income months. So this is really for people who are ready to move fast. I am a person who's like all in on my business, and that's kind of who is joining Visibility on Purpose too. Individuals who know that they are ready to be seen, know that their mission is meant to be heard. And I asked a question the other day, and it was like, and I thought it was pretty impactful, but it was like, is your lack of visibility helping your business growth and bank account, or is it hurting it? And I just think that that's such a good question to ask yourself if you are a business owner, because visibility is a non-negotiable, is something that you have to do in order to grow a business. Nobody is hiding under a rock and then just like magically becoming a billionaire. Like, of course you're going to see Patagonia and these like big brands, because that's how they got their brand to a certain point. It was brand awareness, brand visibility. So anyway, it just really goes hand in hand with Gold Standard. And I would love for Andrea to talk about it because I am such a big fan and I'm going to be in it.
I'm so proud of this. We start next Wednesday, 3/29. Two of the people and myself who are in Gold Standard are all in our highest month. And that to me makes perfect sense, because the thing about it is that I have behind the scenes. The thing is, everyone who signed up a little while ago has basically been being held in the energy, because I have been tinkering in the quantum field with the energetics of what this is about, right?
I just imagine you at home just like doing something. You're like, by the way, she messaged me the other day. She's like, by the way, I've been working on you, and just like doing these really cool new things in the background. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it's like, of course, no mistake that I'm experiencing my highest income month. Andrea is, her other client, Colleen, is, who she went live with the other day.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing, because if you're going to join a program where they're promising you something, I personally feel like the person leading it needs to actually either be there right now or has been there. And you are walking that walk, and you're really teaching your, how many ever years, 40 years of your, we joke, a PhD in metaphysical stuff, but like, you have been not only mastering that, but now you have the money results. Also, all your clients are huge income earners. Like, your clients, you have multi 6-figure clients. So like, it's just like, very cool.
And it's, what's interesting too is, you know, I think that there is, I don't want to deny that there is not a lot of wisdom to this necessarily, but I was supporting people very quickly into my business because of because I had spent decades building my skill set.
Yeah.
And even though I had not become a millionaire yet using my business, I was able to use this frequency and the energy I channel, this technique I created to help other people do that. Like, I was supporting people making leaps like 40, you know, I had a client who worked with me a few years ago who was at steady 40K months, and we anchored her into 100K months. in a year
Yeah.
of doing one-on-one.
You
And it
have
was
the
about
results.
I had the results. I have
Yeah.
another client who I helped go from, making like 30 to 40, 50K months to hitting, her highest month was 140K. And so the thing is, I know this technique works. Like, the thing about it is that I'm a really big nerd. Like, I just want to say, the thing about me is that I am many things, but I am definitely a nerd, and I care about data. I care about what you were saying about knowing the results. And I have
Yeah.
seen in the years since I started doing this, and in my own experience, how quickly I have increased my income and I changed my entire body, right? Like,
Yeah.
I've lost over 50 pounds in the past couple of years. I had chronic disabling nerve pain to the point
Yeah.
that in 2020, I had an active application pending for long-term disability. Like, and my guides were like, it's going to be fine. This is going to be one of the ways that you basically, this is my equivalent. That act of healing myself was in fact my first million, right? Like, if you think
Oh,
of
I
it as
love
an
that.
energetic equivalency, my guides
Yeah.
always tell me that. They're like,
Yeah.
that was your first million, friend. Like, you
Yeah.
literally healed yourself using, and there is a lot that went into it. And that's the other thing about the idea of a quantum leap, right? Is that you leverage, in order to facilitate your own quantum leaps, you look to the world around you and you find someone like me who can hold you in that energy, who's already done whatever it is you're looking to do. And then you benefit from that proximity to them. It's kind of like learning through osmosis or something, where just because the world is so much more energetically complex than we understand, right? I always love to bring this one up, but when there was a study done at Harvard 15-ish years ago, where they studied people's brains who meditated, changes your brain. Prayer has been studied. Prayer works. They don't know why prayer works, right? Science
like,
doesn't know why, but they're like, there is something to that whole thingamabobber, right? There's all kinds of neuroscience that backs up that manifestation practices work. And there is in fact a lot of science that says this thing that I am doing is actually the hottest ticket in town, and I see it all the time, right? It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. This technique that I have will help you get there. And this container is about everyone in it really building a legacy style amount of financial impact, because I deeply believe, after having been a young punk, my parents met as peace activists a long time ago, and I've studied history. I believe very deeply that the way that we're going to change this planet is by people of good hearts and minds who have a desire to create beauty and magic and joy and love on this planet, to really create a massive amount of personal wealth, and then be able to use that money to change the world and create the things that we dream of. Like, you hear me talk about this all the time. I have wanted to be a philanthropist since I was a little kid. I literally, I know
just
exactly.
Imagine you walking around looking like the first lady, being like, I'm ready to be.
I'm ready to, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be a philanthropist who has like $1 trillion that I can go. The other night I told one of my best friends, I was laughing. I was like, you know what I did yesterday? I spent like an hour sitting in the energy of what would I do with $100 million? And you know what I would do with $100 million? I would buy so much land, and I would rewild it, and I would turn it into public food forests and community gardens and just sanctuaries, right? New Earth retreat centers. Like, I have a freaking giant vision. And in order to facilitate that, to do the things I want, I care about restoring justice to this planet. And I believe that the way we are going to do it is by having us show ourselves the money, right? Finding some way, whatever it is, to build a massive amount of wealth, so that then I and you and everyone who actually cares so deeply about this world is able to say, you know what, you're over there nutting around, politics, religion, talking some stuff about what will actually create change. I believe they know those things necessarily won't create the kind of impact that we need. And so it's really time to all of us to say, it's time for something better. It's time for something different. It's time for us to take a big leap of faith on ourselves and on the whispers of our own heart and on our own wisdom. And to your point, right? This relates very deeply to feeling safe, feeling comfortable, feeling okay being visible, and like leaning into that energy of being visible on purpose.
On purpose. I was joking around. I was like, on purpose means two different things to me. It means actually on purpose being visible. We are doing this on purpose. And then also on purpose, meaning that we are on a purpose, we are on a mission. So I think that there's two kind of meanings of that. But anyway, I wanted to kind of continue on this like wealth consciousness kind of conversation, because I'm personally going through this, which is why I joined the program, a gold standard. And something that I heard the other day about luxury. So there's two pieces that I want to mention. Luxury meaning, luxury means a choice. And so I thought that was the coolest thing ever, because there's been a lot of destigmatizing the idea of money and like how it's so scary, and luxury means that you are like selfish and you want like a lot of stuff. And it's like somebody mentioned like luxury just means choice. It means choice to be able to choose whatever it is that you want. And I thought that was so interesting, because luxury could mean a choice of wanting to, I don't know, buy only clothes made in local areas and made in America, and choosing to like your house be like very sustainable. And like, let's be honest, like those organic options and things like that cost money. They do. And so that might be a choice of luxury, or buying a bunch of land, maybe your choice of luxury. So it means so many different things. And I think that's really beautiful. And then another piece of this is energy, which is something that we both are going to be talking about a lot in our programs. So I actually have a free workshop if you're interested. It's called Becoming an Energetic Match to Top Tier Media. And what's really important about this is you actually can, and I've seen it happen, you can repel media if you are subconsciously not ready. So meaning, what I mean by this is, if you want to just take it to a really tangible level, if there's somebody at the grocery store that's like really looking standoffish and they look angry, and it's like somebody that works at the grocery store, and you have a question, you're not going to ask them, right? Because of the energy that they're putting off. The same thing happens when you are in the media, even virtually. It can be energetic, or it can be that this person that's pitching, maybe you might not actually talk about your business in a way that is to the highest level, and talk about, all the amazing things that you did, and really highlight yourself and your purpose, because you are nervous and you're holding back. So this kind of energetic idea is so important when it comes to the media, but it's also so important in terms of holding on to wealth. And what I've really been noticing is like, you need somebody to be able to help you in this container. And what I mean by this is like, recently, I also work with Andrea one-on-one, so I can talk about this, but recently I was talking to her about how I realized that the way to my highest income month was really the way to understanding energy for myself and around me. So I had this like toxic trait of working all day, really, really late at night. I was watching Netflix. I was like watching stuff that was like probably not good for my subconscious. I was going out on the weekends, maybe like, everyone my age is like going out and drinking. Like, let's just be honest, that's what you do. So anyway, just doing all these things where it was like, I basically was replicating what I was doing in corporate America, where you're living for the weekend, you're binging Netflix to just drain your mind and like whatever. And I was like miserable. I was like, what am I doing? I'm not making any more money. I'm not seeing a huge difference. And so I started doing things that felt good for my energy. And we were talking about this yesterday. It's like some people are the wake up at 5 a.m.ers and like do the whole thing. That is not my journey. I wake up early, but I'm not 5 a.m. We're talking like between 6:30, the absolute earliest, to 8:30. Like we're not doing 5. But I started doing things that felt good for my energy. Like every day I was doing some sort of meditation. Every day I was making sure that I got outside. I was making sure that I actually put myself first. Andrea talks about this all the time, but she talks about treating herself like a client, I think that's so important, to treat yourself as if you would treat a client. I was the person that was like, I have everything on my checklist for everybody else. If there was something for me on there, it wasn't going to get done today, and it probably wasn't going to get done tomorrow or the next day. So if you really understand energy, it's working with somebody that can hold you in a space of like, no, you need to treat yourself just like you would treat a client. And then how can you kind of take away the noise, and how can you either create space or input something really good that's going to create this kind of like wealth consciousness. And so I love that Gold Standard is a group container, because it's like everybody that's high vibe and all in the same type of journey that's like, no, we're ready to do this. We're ready to do this, and we're ready to do it the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because that dynamic you were talking about, you essentially created you knew success, right? Like but you were still sort of subconsciously replicating, like you were doing well, you were making money, you had been able to leave a part-time job, you were all in on yourself. I think when we're in that dynamic of, saying no to ourselves and yes to everybody else, like we can actually create something from that point of view. But what happens is we hit a wall pretty quickly, and then we can't get beyond that. It's like, you might be able to get like a, cool 5, 6, 7, and that's nothing to sneeze at. I'm not saying that like making 5,000, earning $5,000 a month from your own work is not a beautiful thing. But there is a point from which, if you want to really grow beyond that, right? You're at 30,000 for the month. This is so incredible. We have still a week left. Who knows what's going to happen?
I know. I was thinking about that. I'm like, oh, who knows? But if you think about like every huge CEO, I was actually thinking about this the other day. Every big CEO that earns millions of dollars a year, their number one thing they'll talk about their mindset. They'll talk about their energy, how they use their energy, and they'll talk about their like routines, like that worked for them specifically. They will never tell you anything about structure. If you're listening to like Steve Jobs or whoever, they're not going to be like, okay, so this is what I do to work in my business. No, they're going to talk about their mindset, their energy, and their own personal routines. It's never anything to do with the business. So there is something to that, whether they know what they're doing or not. There's something to that when it comes to the energy and understanding that. And it's just such a beautiful container to really like understand and anchor into that. But I mean, it's not only just mindset. You're doing, all the energy work on the back end, but this is a great way, I think, to find a tangible aspect to this. So if you're somebody that's sitting there like, oh, well, I don't really understand the metaphysical stuff, you honestly don't need to. You don't need to.
You don't need to. You can join Gold Standard, which again starts next Wednesday. And right between now and next Wednesday, you'll still be able to join after we start. It's going to be an evergreen, it's 6 months from the time that you step in. But the benefit to jumping in now is that you save $2,000 between now and next week, which is a lot. And you also get to be part of like the energetics of the beginning of it, right? It's not to say that if you start in 4 months or 6 months, it won't be so powerful, but starting now, we have I'm so excited. I love everyone in it. I had a call with, I had a couple calls yesterday. I did some wealth attunements for people who are going to be joining yesterday, and they were so amazing. And I'm just over the moon about it, because I know how scary it is, right? I know how scary it is to have to always take a leap of faith in that way and be like, oh, I'm going to make this massive investment in myself. But when you're a leader, when you're the kind of person who wants to really sit in that energy of like transformation and growth, you need to take leaps, and you need to do things where you move outside of, the societal narrative and expectation. Because that's the other thing about, to loop back into your point about, people who are really successful billionaires, famous creatives. And if you even think about it with if you want to go one step further and look at the political and the religious sphere, we're told left, right, and, you know, center that magic isn't real and this stuff isn't real and da da da. And then you look around and you look at churches, you look at politicians, you look at people who are billionaires who have created massive things. Two things. One is they use magic, right? Like we're told that magic isn't
about,
real.
like the church, which blew my mind. I'm a Catholic. I grew up Catholic.
Nothing but eye rolls on this one.
And so you go into the church and like, you don't realize, like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, huh, this is actually very similar. They're like using incense and they're like throwing holy water and like all these things. And I'm like, this is literally
they're like literally saying spell casting, incantations, like what? And then, you know, I love this one, right? Ronald Reagan famously had an astrologer who worked with him to strategize. It turns out that most people, right, that's true not just of him, but of many politicians, that they have healers, you know, psychics, essentially intuitive strategists who work with them using these unseen forces. And so there is another way too, where everyone, right, all of us who are not part of that like high level global power structure need to start saying to ourselves, you know what, I'm going to really look at how people actually act, what they do. We can all say anything, but how are you actually moving through space? So I love that you were talking also about that idea of how when you hear people who are super successful, right? Steve Jobs is not,
this always blows
like,
my mind.
do this thing, do this. They're talking about their routines, the way that they manage their energy, the way they manage their time.
Way they manage their energy. Like,
yep.
Was it Steve Jobs that's known for only, no, it's the founder of Facebook. He's known for, I think it was him. He's known for wearing the same outfit every day because that's just one less decision he needs to make.
Yeah. It's and like that fatigue decision. Yeah. Or
yep, and that uses
fatigue. Yeah.
Right. And that uses his energy. So it's all these things that are just so important to us or not important to us. And it's like, how can we trim them down? How can we create a daily routine that works for ourselves? And it doesn't have to be the wake up at 4 a.m. and journal and meditate and go for a jog and do a whole day before the day. It doesn't have to be that. If that works for you, that's awesome. If it doesn't, that's fine too. And so one of the things that I actually heard yesterday in a group that I'm in was one of the CEOs was talking about how she's so grateful that she gets to go for acupuncture in the middle of the day because that's important to her. And it's like, we get to do these things. And also we get to sit down and work really hard when we are inspired. And so figuring out those ways that it works for us. And what's cool about this was a huge mindset shift for me was you can grow and you can always hire support. And a lot of us fear growing because that means that we're at max capacity and we like cannot possibly take on anymore. And that's about energy. It's mindset and energy. So it's just really interesting, like all of the different things and being in a container with a group that gets it and is on the same journey with you that you can like bounce ideas off of. You can bounce like conversations, and something like so small that you may not realize might actually be the thing that is stopping you from making the next $10,000 or whatever. So it's really fantastic to be in a group like that and to also release any traumas that you're holding on to, even like physically. Like Andrea is very good at that, which I didn't know that was really a thing. I was like, your body holds on to trauma, but it makes sense. Like even think about this, like when you're really upset, you end up getting a headache, like, of course. So like, why would that not translate into other things? So it's just very interesting. I love all of this. And I always say that whoever works with me should work with Andrea and vice versa, because there's just something so powerful about working with both of us. And I've seen it time and time again with certain clients that have quote unquote no business and being on these top tier publications, but they're just, their energetic hygiene is at such a high level that they are just calling in the craziest media opportunities. I tell my clients, I'm like, shoot for the stars or the moon or whatever the thing is, shoot for it and we'll go for that. I had a client last year who got into Oprah print, which is like, okay, let me just tell you the probability of that. Oprah only prints 4 times a year now. because print publications are on their way out, as we know. So it's highly, highly competitive to get into Oprah print, and it's Oprah. Like, what's more famous than Oprah? Nothing. Like
Nothing.
literally. So this client got into Oprah print, and she is what somebody would perceive as like a smaller business owner. And it's just so beautiful to see that like this can absolutely happen for you. And it can happen for you more earlier on, and it can happen for you when you have a lot of money and little money. It really is just about where are you at in your business journey, and are you going all in on yourself, and are you working on yourself, whether it be working on your skill set or working on your energetics.
Yeah. And really, and I think one of the things that's so amazing about working with you is that because of who you are, right? Because of the talent and the capacity and the just like sheer brilliance with which you navigate the world, your own, I have money vision, and you have
That's
like
my favorite thing ever. It's like a night vision, night goggles. No, Andrea just has like money goggles.
Like money goggles. I'm like, oh, here's a way you could. My friends used to joke about it, and they like, I had a friend years ago who was always like, you should start a business where you tell people what to do as a business. And I was, and so and now here I am. I'm doing that.
You're like, oh, that was really funny. You foreshadowed this, because that is literally what I do.
You. But the thing that's so amazing about you is your goggles, right? The Lydia goggles are that when she sees you, she also sees you and your gifts in their entirety. So you have this very unusual, and you have this also really dynamic capacity to be able to essentially bridge really high level spiritual woo-woo. Like you work with so many people who are coaches and healers and do all sorts of like woo-woo things, right? You have other people who do more, sort of grounded 3D things. You have a real range, but that's part of your gift, is that you're able to take that really mystical information that can be very hard to articulate, and you literally are like, boop, 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 boop. Like you're like, oh, here's the thing about you. Here's how I'll pitch you. Here's how I'll take the wacky thing that you do, and I will cast a wide net and create this like incredible expanse and opportunity for you to then be on top podcasts, be all over town in media, in print, create these incredible opportunities because you see people so clearly in this way where you're then able to help them. It really anchors people into that energy. So they start to view themselves as the authority in whatever the thing about them is.
Sometimes we need to see to believe. So yeah, I'm like that. I get it. So when we can start to see to believe that type of authority in ourselves, and I say this all the time, authority needs to be claimed. It's not earned, but sometimes it does help to see to believe. So I've seen in multiple campaigns with clients, whether it be my client that is in one of my programs that is seeing it for themselves, or whether it be me working on them and their PR strategy, but like, I'll see how excited they get when they get their first piece of press. And then out of nowhere, they get another piece and another piece. And they're like, oh, I'm kind of a big deal. And it's like, it's just so beautiful to see, because everyone, if you have a business and you have paying customers, you have value, and that needs to be shared, and that can be shared through the media. And what's really cool about the media right now is podcasts are humongous. They have grown astronomically in the past like 5 to 10 years. And I don't even know if they've been around for 10 years. Has it been like a decade yet? Regardless, it is very new. And what's cool about that is we are also becoming the media. So there's so much opportunity, because it's content right now, to get an editorial, but there's also so much opportunity to get on podcasts. There's almost like an infinite number of shows. Like there's only a certain amount of magazines, but there's like an infinite number of shows. So there's just so many beautiful audiences and soul aligned audiences that are there and ready to listen to you, whether it be to hear you get interviewed on a podcast, or whether it be to read a story about you in an editorial. So it's just really cool that there's so much opportunity there, and everyone has a very unique value. And what's cool about this, and I feel like everyone needs to like work with Andrea to like get a little boost of like what they're here to do, because gosh, if everyone could have everyone could have a session with you and you're just like, holy crap, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And then they come to me and they're like, well, here's what I'm supposed to be doing, or here's what I do. And I was just really highlighted from Andrea's session in like a very unique way. We can also help like articulate that into a beautiful pitch and highlight it and anchor into it. And it's just, it's great. I just love what we do.
And it's amazing. One of the things about working with you that I loved so much, that I love, because like we actively are working with each other right now. And one of the things that is so amazing about working with you, and so I will just be, totally frank. If anyone had sat down with me when I decided to hire you, the point at which, so in the fall of 2020, I charged people for the first time, I charged people $2.22. I had some settlement money from, I had some settlement money from some of the many car accidents I had been in during my messy years. And I decided to take a really big risk and go all in on myself. I knew that I could do the safe thing. And there was an irony in the safe move, because what I could see was if I chose the safe path, which was not doing this, it was using the money to buy a house, getting on disability, and sort of going down that path. I could literally see that even though it looked better on paper, that it was going to lead to my ruin. The not safe decision was to take the money that I had received and say, all right, I've been hearing my guides tell me since I was a little kid that I was someday going to start a business, turn my, drama into gold, as it were, and really change things for myself in the world. And there's literally no time but now to do it. And so I hired you. Like, I had only been charging people for my services for like 6 months or something when I started working with you. No CFO, no coach would have been like, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, you're ready for publicity. But what I could see was that hiring you was going to create a really fast, again, that idea of quantum leap, that you were going to help me parlay my gifts into a literal global message. I have people all over the world who I work with now. And many of them have come from hearing me on podcasts that you orchestrated for me, and have found me through the print up, just are like, oh, I found you through this thing. And the thing that's so beautiful about it too, is that all of that information, to use that favorite word I love, evergreen, right? I worked in finance for a couple of years, so I love the term evergreen. And I'm also a hoe for nature. So I also like so just funny. All the ways, right?
Every time I hear evergreen, no matter what, I just like visualize a tree. I'm like, yeah, evergreen.
Yep. Evergreen, and that idea, right? For me, I knew that investing in your talents, your gifts, your capacity to help people build something really incredible was going to help me very quickly to just like expand my reach in a way that nothing else would have. Because when people hear, especially with me, but this is true of so many people in the world, we as humans like to hear people's stories. We used to all sit around fires, like hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, when television and radio didn't exist, right? People used to sit around fires and spend time with each other and share stories. And that is a way that we both, engage in 3D, but also energetically resonate and build community. And I knew that you would help me get my story out there. And that is, people get really inspired when they hear what I've done with my life, and they're like, well, I want some of that.
Yeah.
And they knew you could do that for me.
Yeah.
And you did.
Evergreen. Thank you. I mean, you've done so much for me, as we know. Here I am with my highest income month, but just that old thing. But speaking of evergreen, PR is evergreen. Everything is digital. We're on the internet forever. So if Andrea is going to speak on stories for Bustle and Hello Giggles, like that is on the internet, and her titles are on the internet. And if she's going to be on Chakra Girl Radio, it's going to be on the internet. forever. And so,
Yeah.
and especially for podcasts, people go back. If I like a podcast, I will listen from like episode 1, or I'll work my way backwards and then hop around. And so that's what's really, really cool, especially if you hear someone that you like. Oh my God, I'll go on like a whole thing. If I hear somebody that I like on a show, I am then Googling their name and listening to all of their episodes. I do
Same.
that. And so if I'm doing that,
too.
you're doing that, so are other people. So
Yeah.
it's just really amazing because I especially love podcasts because podcasts have a very dedicated fan base. They have a host that has also a lot of credibility and trust. So their clients, or not their clients, but their listeners are going to trust immediately whoever they bring on their show. If they like them, if they don't like them, or if they don't know who they are, they're going to be like, oh, it's the next episode, I'm going to listen. So no matter what, you have somebody listening to you for 30 minutes to an hour. Do you know how valuable that is? That converts people to paying customers. I can't even tell you how many times I didn't know the person and I was like, holy shit, this is the most amazing person. Just last night, I listened to somebody on a podcast and I went on their Instagram and I followed them and I was like, oh, I wonder what programs they have. Like that. I am a publicist. I know how this works. And so it's,
I do too. I hear someone and I'm like, oh, I need to do that thing. And I'm going to go book a call with them right now.
yep. I'm like, oh, I know how this works. I'm going to download their freebies and I'm obsessed with them now. Like,
Yep.
or it's somebody that I perceived as not really liking. I was actually, so I recently, there's this one manifestation person. She's like huge on the internet. I always look at her stuff and I'm like, oh, it's pink and bubbly and like, I'm not interested, whatever. She was on a show recently that I like and I trust. And I was like, all right, let's listen to her. I am now fully obsessed. I've gone to her show. I have gone to all of her programs. I'm like, this person is a genius, because sometimes too, we will judge, as I did, by the way that like a brand looks or something. And so the power of podcasts is that I am then as a consumer saying, all right, maybe I don't like her look or whatever, but like, fine, I'll listen. And now I've been converted to a raving fan. So the value is just like so cool when it comes to PR, because it converts people. It's all about relationships. That's what PR is. PR is not really about visibility and exposure. It's about nurturing relationships with new, current, or new, existing, and current leads. That's what it does.
Yeah. 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 And it changes as a small business owner, right? Who is looking to cast a vibrant, wide net and be able to truly, hold space for and help as many people. Like I, might be a delusional goofball, but like, I feel like I came here to like lead a massive evolution and help people all over the world to remember things about themselves, to heal in profound ways, to build wealth, to do all this stuff. And so I need to cast a wide net.
I love when you tell me you have sessions with people in like the Philippines and stuff. I feel like you were like hot. I don't know what happened, but I feel like you were hot in the Philippines for a sec. But she's like,
I was in the fall.
Something happened over there. But like, it's just so interesting that she truly does have clients from all over the United States, and then the Philippines, and like whatever else. I'm like, wow, it is so amazing that the internet can connect us with people around the world like that. And so the value in that is like, gosh, imagine all the people in your local town. Imagine like working with them. Like that's a lot of people, but imagine expanding to the United States, expanding to the world. And all of this is at our fingertips. So like, why not capitalize on this?
And I know we should probably wrap it up, but
I know I'm just so into this right now. I'm like, should we get a cocktail and just sit all night?
But now I'm in it. And it's funny you brought that up, because so right before this, I had a bunch of calls today, and I had a new client earlier right before this call.
Yeah.
Who is in Dubai.
Wow.
And she was in her my case. Oh my God. She was of course, I freaking loved her. She was wonderful. It was so much, we had so much fun. And it was incredible because she found me on a podcast. Turned out she had been following my journey. I think she had signed up for my freebie or something last year, has been like following me on social media. The other day I offered these they're gone now.
I
But
saw you offering them and I was like, ooh, should I do one of these? And I'm like, I need to calm down. I'm
You-
in every single one of your containers.
you're
and
already getting one. You already got it.
I was like, oh, what's this?
I offered these sessions that were called a pot of gold activation, and she just knew she's at a real point of personal growth and transformation, and she knew. And it was so funny because, of course, like the time zone in Dubai is really different. It's night, very late there, when we were on the call, and she was like beautifully just like relaxed. She had like done her routine, she was in her beautiful robe, and she was just like chilling out, which is of course also like a vibe I love. I'm a double Taurus and a Libra rising, and I'm like, oh yeah, lean
A
into
luxurious
that.
robe.
I literally on my freebie, I'm like, create a silky mood for yourself. Like, what am I even like? Okay.
You submitted commentary like that for the spring equinox, which by the way, that story is coming out soon. I can't wait. You will all see it. But I was cracking up. I'm reading it. I'm like, a silky mood for yourself. I'm like, this is such a hot ritual. But
yeah.
hey, that's like your whole thing. That's your whole thing. I was telling everyone, I was telling Andrea, I was cracking up. We did a session and I literally visualized her just like with a coupe glass, just like pouring like gold and like just like riches into me. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to just go for that. And afterwards I was like, listen, you are like Great Gatsby luxury, and we just need to like talk about this.
Oh God. And it's so, because then you created these, you were like, oh, I made you some branding. I
couldn't help myself.
No,
I was like,
bless you. Also,
I was like, I hope
really
you don't mind, but like, this is what
No,
I saw. So I just wanted to make some visuals.
Not only do I not, but I welcome it. And it is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Because if you think about how we really are in the midst of this massive planetary revolution, or like love-evolution, if you want to get like really corny, but like we're in the middle. This time we're living through was destined to be a time. You go back and you look at every saint, every sage, every prophet, religions across the world going back thousands of years said that this time that we are in right now was going to change everything. And I have chills as I'm saying it, and it's true. And we are living, so it's interesting you brought up Fitzgerald, right? Because we're living in a golden age.
In the
We're
golden
literally
age,
moving with and through the golden age, the gold standard. And it is time for all of us to figure out what makes us tick. And that's the beauty of working with me and working with you, is you and I both there. I'm not saying that there's not a time and a place for a, sort of exacting method. Like, this is my technique, go out and do that thing. It's going to get you this. That can work really well for some people. But I think you and I, one of our shared like strong suits, as it were, is that both of us are very good at helping people figure out how they can be completely themselves.
Yeah. And then it comes down to like a custom routine and custom strategy.
Yes.
And so
and
that's what it is. Like, of course we're doing that. You need to like have aligned action in order to make money. That's just, you can't be like, I'm going to just wish upon this. I mean, like that some things may happen, but you need to have aligned action in order to really make things manifest into reality. And so what Andrea and I are both really good at doing is like, she's like wildly incredible at seeing very far into the future and seeing what you are meant to do in this lifetime, which I think is really unique. And I've never seen anybody do that ever. And I'm like a little bit of like a psychic enthusiast. And and then I am very good at seeing what your uniqueness is in your business. And so mine's very much coming from that like branding lens. But between the two of us, it's like, how can we highlight all the amazing parts about you in a way that can really be shared in the media, that can be adjusted in your energy and adjusted in your daily routines. So it's just all about you allowing yourself to be this authentic, genuine self. I actually have a program that I'm going to make evergreen. Speaking of evergreen, the digital, I'm going to be releasing soon, called Find Your Irresistible. And it's really all about finding your irresistible qualities that magnetize your aligned clients, your aligned branding. Like, I can't even begin to tell you, we'll talk about this another time because I'm not really launching it right now, but like, we're just all about sharing your individuality and just really celebrating that. So if you are on board with something like that, I highly recommend joining Gold Standard. Also just makes you fulfilled. It just makes your life, like, who wouldn't want to just be entirely themselves and allow their brand to be itself? I mean, it's such a gift.
It's such a gift.
That?
It changes your life. It makes it so you're able to live in that energy of joy and pleasure and just like sheer celebration, because you remember completely that not only do you get to be yourself completely, but that you get to use all of those gifts that you uniquely, inimitably possess, and then essentially use them to create the life of your dreams and be able to live so that no matter what hits you, you know, it's not about perfection. It's about being able to, you know, essentially operate from a place of such deep inner calm, inner knowing, and like profound self-trust that when things are good, you're doing good. When things are, you know, complicated, because that's part of the human experience, that you still sit in that energy of clarity, of peace, of inner wisdom. And I think that's like the beauty of working with you and me, is that we really help people to get into that point, that perspective, and it changes everything. So yeah. So when is your workshop? Is on Friday?
Yes. So if you want to get a little taste of what's happening inside Visibility on Purpose, and regardless, I'm not a person that sits there and like sells an entire workshop. This workshop is like very highly valuable. It's probably going to be for sale at some point just because it's so valuable. It is becoming an energetic match to top tier media. So we're really going to visualize, anchor you into the idea of success for your business and idea of getting on these major publications. We're going to be talking about showing you to see to believe what's possible. We're going to lead you into an exercise. There's so much value in it. We're also going to talk about the value of PR and why it matters for somebody who is leading a purpose-led brand. I think just like that in itself is huge, to just like educate yourself on why it matters. So that is happening on Friday at 1 p.m. And we're doing giveaways. We're doing a bunch of prizes. I have been so excited about this all day. We're giving out 3 freaking prizes, tiers of prizes. I am so excited about it. So if you haven't yet, please sign up. It's tomorrow at 1 p.m. You can find it probably all over my Facebook page, but I'm going to add it. I'll actually add it in the comments here.
Yeah,
so
drop it in the comments so that people have it, as they say, drop it like it's hot.
Drop it like it's hot. And we have 115 people signed up for this. There's no weird lead magnets to get there. This is just our own network. This is just like our network.
Yeah.
People that we talk to every day are like genuinely interested in this. So I'm so excited. It's gonna be so fun.
It's gonna be so much fun. I mean, I love prizes. I win a lot of prizes because I just live under a lucky, even as complex as my life was, I also live under a lucky star and always have.
We love a lucky star.
I was talking earlier on a call I was on. I was like, oh yeah, someone was talking about having given away prizes themselves, and I was like, oh yeah, I won one of your $500 dollar prizes. I like a $500
prize. You're like, oh, I won that.
Yeah. I really, someone who read for me once a couple of years ago was like, you have what I call the lottery gene. And
That's
I was
so
like,
cool. I have friends like that. I know what you mean.
Have the lottery gene. And it's confusing because she also laughed and she was like, I also see that you've lived through some stuff, but you clearly have like a lot of like good vibes around you. And I was like, yes, I do. I am deeply lucky. And I have always known that about myself.
Yeah.
So
tell us about Gold Standard and how they can sign up for that and find more information.
Oh my God, please. Yes. Sign up for Gold Standard. I will drop the sales page on the comments. We start next Wednesday. The calls are 2 to 3 times a month. It's going to be amazing. I use a lot of sound healing in my work. You can see one of my most beautiful little crystal bowls
Too
here in the
funny. I listened to
background.
sound healing last night, so of course you're talking about it today.
She's such a cutie. She was my first bowl. I
Very
love her
pretty.
so much. And so I'm going to be using, one of the calls will be like a live channeled ceremonial healing, an activation. I'm going to be using my bowls to really like further that energy of healing and transformation. My channeled wisdom, my light language, all of that will come through on one of the calls. The other is going to be a laser, integration and coaching call to just help you process what's come up. And then there'll be there's some fun stuff that I'm going to be adding that I haven't even shared with you yet. That is, I'm looking to
I'm like, oh, what is it?
yeah, there's some really cool stuff about it. I won't give away all my secrets just yet, but I am really excited about it. So it's going to be 2 to 3 calls a month, 6 months. There's a Voxer component. Everyone who has joined is so, I mean, you're amazing. We were talking about how Colleen is one of the people who's doing it. I'm so excited. The talent that is in this
Oh, I love
space.
that.
We have one person who is just like has a lot of different kinds of being really brilliant. She's an artist. She has all kinds of different cool things going on. So I'm just really excited about the energy of it. It's going to be so much fun. You can sign up using the link that I will drop here. And if you feel like you're not ready to commit to, 6 months, but you just want to jump on a call, I have, single sessions. Anyway, find me and Lydia.
Yes.
Sign up for her workshop tomorrow. It's time. If you were listening to this, it is because you are, part of this journey of really exquisite transformations. So let's do this, as you like to say.
Yes, let's do this. And if it's, what was I going to say? It is Aries season. So it's time to go, go, go. And also spring equinox, which we kind of mentioned, but this is technically the beginning of the energetic year. So if you're ready to just finally be like, okay, I'm done with this and I'm ready for that, now is the time to do it. This is the new year. We've got our resolutions down. We're ready to go. Even in your call earlier today, Cosmic Alchemy, it was the last call. She was talking about so beautiful. She was talking about our New Year's resolutions. And I was like, oh, this is so fun. We get to like actually feel into it. I feel like in January, we're all just like freaking out after the holidays, and it's not like a real time to write down what we want. It's more about the spring. So I say now is the time. Absolutely. This is it.
It is the time. It is the time. And it's interesting, just we can leave you with this, right? It is the energetic new year. So many there are a bunch of really potent, really beautiful religious festivals and holidays that fall within this week. We have the equinox, we have Ramadan, we have a lot of really beautiful the Persian New Year was a couple of weeks ago. This springtime, right? My own, Irish ancestors knew that this was the point in those old Irish religions. This was when they celebrated the new year, and it is time to go as big as you can.
Yeah.
Jump into your dreams with the most unadulterated self-trust and perhaps, bravado and foolery that you possibly can, because we only have this one. We have so many lives, right? But this one, you only get this one once.
Yeah. I
make it as
around.
big as you can.
I always joke around. You only live once that you remember. YOLO. Remember, like YOLO was cool. We should bring that back. That was a good one.
Oh, I love YOLO. The word YOLO. It's beautiful.
Great, we're gonna leave you guys for real.
Yeah. All right. Goodbye.
So great.
Find us both. Sign up for all of our things. We'll see you on the flip side. We love you.
Everyone.
Goodbye.
Thank you.